Okay, so to use Windows File Explorer, first you have to actually find Windows File Explorer. Windows File Explorer is the program that you use to navigate the Windows file system. And by default, it should be one of these icons down at the bottom. When you get your computer, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be this file folder looking one, and so um, I've actually got my taskbar settings really small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off use small taskbar buttons. This is one of those menus that you can actually go in and change something about your computer. If you want the smaller taskbar, you can do that. You can right click on the taskbar, click on taskbar settings, and then click use small taskbar buttons. And it makes everything smaller and it gets rid of that search bar. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to set it up like how you should expect to see it when you get at it. And so right here, there's one that looks like a file folder. And if I right click on that, it's going to show that there's File Explorer, and it's also going to show my pinned and frequently used folders. But if I left click on it, which is just the standard regular click, then it pulls open this menu. And what you see when you open File Explorer is, well, there's a lot to look at here, but the most important things are to break it down into the main parts. So on the left, we've got our directory tree, and yours may be shrunk down to only show the quick access, or it may be expanded out to show stuff on the desktop. We'll get into that in a second. Uh, Over here on the right, you're going to have your frequent folders at the top and your recently opened files down here. So if you're just looking for something that you just closed out of, you can actually probably find it in this list. But if you're looking for something that you saved a while ago, you're going to want to remember which file folder you filed that into. Um, so let's go ahead and take a look at on the left side. This is where you see the file system, and those things that I talked about in the previous video are all here. So it starts with your desktop, and then you go to this PC, and then in this PC, it's got a couple of shortcuts here for, again, desktop is in the same, uh, it's the same thing, and it's in a couple of different places. The difference between this desktop and this desktop is that this desktop has some of these shortcuts in it, and then this desktop only has the files that you've put in here. So these are your desktop icons. Um, documents, that's where you're going to want to store all of your documents, downloads. All of these are under this PC in here, but they're also under your username here. So here I've got my name, and then I've got all of the folders that are associated with my name. Again, desktop is here, and it's got all the same files that were in the other desktop under this PC, because where both of those are actually pointing is under this PC, C drive, users, and then Matthew.DeRozier. And then under here, now we've got, again, this is all of my user files. So if I go into the desktop here, which is right in, and one of the things that I have been doing that I haven't actually spoken out about is anytime you see one of these little arrows, these arrows pointing right, if you click on them, they point down, and then you open up the next layer of folders. So under here, I've got clean desktop, dual monitor tools, site thingy. These are folders that I put on my desktop for whatever reason and just never bothered to clear them off. Under documents, I've got the same thing. I've got a whole bunch of different files, folders in documents, but they don't show up until I click that little down arrow. When you're taking a look at what's contained inside your folders, you have the ability to sort them by name, and you can do it alphabetically from, well, in this case, period, numbers, then letters. Or you can do it reverse alphabetically. So now Y is the first, and it goes backwards through the list to A, or period. Folders are treated separately from files. So your first thing is going to be the list of folders, and then it's going to start with files. One of the really nice things about using File Explorer is that it shows you some critical things about your files, like the file name, obviously, but then the date modified, which is the last time that you made a change to this file or a program made a change to a file on your behalf. Then there's also type. So right here I can see that this is a JPEG file. This is a PNG file. These are different types of image files. And then I've got Microsoft Word document, Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, and I can sort them by type as well. So if I know I'm looking for an image, now I can, because I've sorted it by type, I can just try and look through all of my different images right here. So in this case, if I was looking for this Go Coyotes image, I just double click that and now I found that image. But if I right click and go to view, then I can change it to icons, and that'll actually give me a uh, pictographic representation of what is present in this folder. So we'll go ahead and go back to list. List is just a list of things. If I do by details, that's where I actually find all these different things that I can sort by. If I right click along this bar, it's tough to see because they don't show the actual spot where it changes from one thing to the next. But if I go out from where these items are and I just extend that out a little bit, if I right click on that, it gives me more options for things that I can sort by. So in this case, let's say that I wanted to also be able to see the date that this file was originally created. So right here I can see, okay, this gocoyotes.psd, it was created on 6/28/2018, but my last edit to it was 7/5/2018. So these are all extremely useful things that you can use to make it easier to find the files that you're looking for. You know, going into my downloads drive, I don't keep too many things in my downloads folder on this device because I tend to file it away where I need it. But even so, I do have some things that are in here that have been in here for a little while. So to make things a little bit easier on yourself, you're going to want to know how to create new folders and move your files into new folders. And there are a couple of different ways of dealing with this, and it's all going to be based around your personal preference for dealing with your files. But first things first, we're going to need to know how to create a new folder. And so you can go up here and click New Folder. Personally, I just right-click anywhere in some blank space, and I'll be able to go to New and then pick out Folder. And then right away, it lets me change it from the default, which is New Folder. I can change this folder name to something like Video Demonstration. And now, because I know that these are, this is a folder for things that I'm going to move over there for the video demonstration, now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to find a bunch of files that I want to move into that video. And so all I'm doing is I'm dragging, you know, I click down and then I drag without releasing the mouse button. And then I move up towards the top of the window here. And then I find that file that I'm trying to move these files into. I find the folder, And when I'm hovering over it, it says move to video demonstration. So when I let go of this, it's going to take those files from the documents folder and it's going to move them into the video demonstration subfolder. So now I've let go, and under video demonstration, I now find those 5 files, or those 5 images that I moved in there. Now, you'll notice that when I moved it in here, because the only thing that this file is, this folder contains is images, it automatically defaults to the thumbnail view so that it gives me large icons right away, which I can change to extra large icons. I could change to small icons. When you do small icons, it actually takes away what it looks like. So I don't know. I've never found a use for that one personally. Um, but you can change it to details view if you want to. Each of these things can be resized just by dragging. And you can also select date ranges. You can select, okay, I only need to see items in A through H. There's little drop downs that are just hiding, and all you have to do to find them is just hover over what you're looking for. So in this case, I only want to see large files. Now I can only see large files. I want to get rid of that. I just uncheck the box. Now it shows me all the files. So I'm going to move these back, and I'm going to show an alternate way of dealing with this. So another thing that I like to do when I'm dealing with a bunch of files is I like to actually take this window and sort of resize it. If you click and drag with the bar at the top and you just drag it right to the edge, it'll actually snap it so that it uses only half of the screen. And then I'll come down here to where the File Explorer thing is, and I'll right click on it, and I'll click on File Explorer to open up a second window. Now I'm going to snap that to the right. Sometimes it doesn't catch right away because my second monitor is off to the right there. So if I go a little too far, then my mouse ends up going over to the other screen. But now what this has done for me, and I can change the ratio between these two just by clicking and dragging in between them. And Windows is smart enough now to let you, it lets you do that. It'll resize based off of, um, it'll resize both windows based off of just dragging the border in between them. So anyways, now what I can do is I can find, okay, I'm already in my documents folder on this side. Now if I go over to my documents folder on this side and then I go into video demonstration, now I've got the video demonstration folder opened on the right side and I've got the documents folder opened on the left side. So now it's just a matter of I click down on Go Coyotes and then I hold down Shift and I click on the last in the row of files that I want to move. And then I can just click and drag over. And you'll notice when it did that, it said move to. So anytime that you're not sure exactly what an action that you're going to take is going to do, in File Explorer, it should be good enough to tell you with words what is going to happen when you move these files or when you work with these files. So if I hold down the Control key, that changes to copy to. And this means that once I let go of that, now I'm going to have a copy of the file here in my documents folder, as well as in the video demonstration subfolder that I created for this. The process for deleting files and deleting folders is exactly the same. And what I'm going to show you now is how to delete files and how to delete folders. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can right click on a file and you can click, it's somewhere in here, delete. You can right click the file and then click delete, and that will send it to the recycle bin. Or you can highlight several files, right click, go down to delete, or you can go ahead and do the same thing, except hit the delete button on your keyboard. So that's done is that has taken all of those files and it's moved them to the recycle bin. And you can do the same thing with file folder as well. You right click and hit delete, or you just hit the delete button on your keyboard. And by delete button, I mean backspace. I think both actually work, but um, the backspace button is for sure the one that I tend to use on my keyboard. So once you've done that, it sends all those documents that you deleted into the recycle bin, which means that although you deleted the files, they're not permanently gone. With the exception of extremely large files, like if you have a gigabyte worth of a video file or a program, it might not keep that around in the recycle bin. But for smaller files and programs, it actually moves those to the recycle bin. And you can find the recycle bin under Desktop Recycle Bin. So now we see all the different files that I have deleted, and it also gives the original location as well as the date deleted. So I deleted the file folder that these files were in. So what happens if I restore one of these files? And I can do that by right-clicking and click Restore, or I can click Restore the selected items at the top on the top bar. When I restore that, it restores the file folder that the original file was in, as well as the file itself. So when I open it up, now it's back where it was, which is very useful because if you delete a file that something else is trying to find, you don't want to have to recreate every directory leading up to that file as well. It's smart enough to remember, hey, this file that you were considering getting rid of, it had a certain, it was within a certain number of folders and subfolders. But again, if I just click and drag, if I move this file to the recycle bin, now it's staged and ready for deletion. So, that's the same thing as hitting the delete button, because the recycle bin is not a folder that you want to store things in. The recycle bin is a staging area for deletion. It's very much like taking something and putting it in the trash bin, but you haven't quite taken that trash bin to the curb yet. So in order to free up the space that these files are taking on my hard drive, I actually have to click this empty recycle bin button. Once you click this, the files are, for all intents and purposes, unrecoverable. So this is the last thing that you do before you make sure that those files are removed. So be sure that you are completely satisfied that all of these things in here can be deleted and you won't miss any of them. We're going to click empty recycle bin. It asks you, are you sure you want to do this? This is your last chance to back out. I'm going to click yes, and now those files are gone, and that's freed back up the hard drive space that they were taken. Okay, so there are two more things that I want to show you before I end this video out, and that's how to find a file that you might have lost, and how to use the start menu to search for files. So first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to find a target file. So I want to find this signature generator zip file, and I'm not necessarily sure I remember where it is. So the first step is to open up File Explorer, which we've already done, and then we go within the highest level of file folders that we think that we're going to have that in. So if I go all the way up to the desktop here, then I can search for, starting from the desktop, and it's going to search all of the subfolders on this PC. Now, if I remember what the file was called, then that makes this process a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and search for signature dash, and it's going to come up with a lot of unrelated results. And it's going to take a while because it's got to search through every single folder on my computer. And it's going to find like all of my emails and all that stuff as well. So it makes it a lot easier if I can remember that, okay, I had it somewhere within my user space. So now if I search for signature dash here, okay, so now it's coming up with a lot of JavaScript scripts and things like that because there's lines in the script that say something about signatures. So if I can keep going, there we go. Now it's found signature dash generator. And you'll notice that even though I didn't capitalize the G, it still was able to find it. But if I do that from within, say, this PC, and do that again, now it's going to take a longer time because it's got to search through everything, including the C drive. I think it searches on the L drive. It'll search through the T drive, the tech drive. Um, Basically, it's got to index every single file that's present on my device, and so this takes a long time. And so because this process takes so long, and because it's not necessarily uh, going to get you the file that you want within any reasonable time frame, my advice is always, if you're looking for a file, try to remember the last place you put it, or try to remember the more likely areas where that file is going to go. So in this case, I know that it's going to be saved somewhere in my user directory. So I'm going to where my name is under desktop, and then I'm going to go where my name is, and I'm going to search for it here. So, and you'll notice that that was a lot faster, and it does pull up a whole lot of junk that I don't really need. But it's actually finding the stuff that I'm looking for within a reasonable amount of time. Now, one of the other things that you might not know about is that it's actually possible for you to, if you don't know what the file was called, but you remember what the file type is, you can use a special character to have it just search for the parts of the file that you know. So I know it was called something generator. So if I do an asterisk before the word generator, it looks for anything that starts with the word generator, or that has the word generator in it. And again, right in here, we've got signature generator. Now we're finding regenerator as well. If I know that coyote is in it, and I just type in coyote, it's going to look for things. I guess it does include things that have coyote in the name. But historically, you would use an asterisk. So if I knew that what I was looking for was a .gif file, I would do star.gif. And now it's going to search for all the GIF files that I have on my device. So another way that you can search for things is if you click down here where it says type here to search, now I'm going to go ahead and type in star.gif, and it shows me results in my photos as well as on the web. So in this case, if I'm looking for signature dash, and right there it says best match signature dash generator dash master.zip, which is that file that I was looking for earlier. And it's going based off of its best guess of what you're looking for when you type in what you look for. It's not perfect, but if there are files that you're going to repeatedly, it does try to remember what those files are and suggest those first. So .xls Right in here, it says best match is Hagen attendance, and then there's a couple of other staff attendance, and I don't know what those spreadsheets are, but apparently I was using them enough where it knows, okay, these are in your documents folder, and this might be what you're looking for. Um, so it is useful. It is useful to know that that is something that you can do, and it's especially useful for when you're trying to open a program. So if I want to open up Google Drive file stream, I type in Drive, and it's one of the things that's shows up in here. It's Drive file stream. So I'll click on that. It's going to launch Google Drive file stream. And now that I'm signed into that, I can actually use Google Drive file stream, which is right here.